everybody. This week we got yet another very special guest for y'all. Everybody, welcome to the show, Jack Fitzsimmons. How we doing, Jack?
Hey, doing great. How are you guys doing?
Good. And we're here to talk about yet another issue of Time Schmucks, something that Chris and I read and we really enjoyed. So, where are you taking this book? Where are we at in Time Schmucks for this second campaign?
Yeah, right on. I also appreciate the kind words you guys had for me on the first go round when our Kickstarter was up for the first issue. That really,
oh yeah, for sure,
definitely got a little boost from that. So I definitely appreciate that. But
yeah.
So yeah, at this point, it's picking up exactly where it like the final page of issue 1. It's picked up exactly on page 1 of issue 2. So
it kind of starts off. Well, it ends. The first issue kind of ends on a cliffhanger, right? Like shit goes bad, and now we gotta.
Yeah, exactly. It's kind of like it's a bit of a like and I kind of the whole purpose of the whole. Oh shit, my phone's going off. Give me a sec. Sorry. Yeah. So the whole like the original inspiration for the series was like I have always been like a kind of a history geek, and I read this really interesting book about kind of the circumstances around the assassination and death of President James Garfield, which people kind of don't know a ton about. But there was all this stuff happening a couple years before he became president. He was still in the Congress, and it was all around the first World's Fair that happened in America. It happened in Philly. You know, I'm a Philly guy. It's everybody in Philly loves being from Philly, and it's just this really interesting thing that I didn't even know anything about. So it was really it just screamed at me that it would be a great setting for kind of a fictionalized thing. So having that really like fertile ground to pull real life historical characters that are such characters that are like, you know, really eccentric or crazy or weird or whatever. So it's in the second issue you get to actually, like in the first issue it really is, I mean, the whole first arc is titled Exposition, which is a little tongue in cheek, but the first issue is very much just like, here's this piece of shit, here's the bartender who can't get him out of her life,
right?
And you know, and here we go. But in this one, you're starting to see how we're going to integrate these real life people. So there's appearances from like Alexander Graham Bell, Emperor Juan Pedro II of Brazil, which Brazil had an emperor. Who knew? Ulysses S. Grant is in it. So there's a lot of so the second issue is a little more, it plays with the setting more. Whereas the first one, I feel like we really tried to do a lot of quick action, make it fun and funny and kind of engaging, but also just get all of the bullshit out of the way of like, here's the premise, here's the hook, like issue 1 is a 20-page elevator pitch. Issue 2 is like, okay, now that you believe in the world, let's go have fun in it. So that's kind of where we're going from here.
Yeah, your lead character, like I'm always attracted to the George Costanza character. And that's what I get off of him, like kind of the lovable loser. Like, yeah, we all know he's kind of a piece of shit and like he's kind of just an alcoholic that needs help, but there's something about it that you just love about him. And he really just continues that in this issue. I won't give anything away for the issue, but when you get into it, his arc for this issue just made me smile the whole time. So I'm like, yeah, that's in character. I love that.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, the big thing with it was like I kind of whenever somebody's like asking me about the Kickstarter and they haven't, if they didn't back on the first one, I always say it's like if Quantum Leap and Always Sunny were one show. And the thing is like I really wanted to take that kind of my background is in comedy. Like I did stand up for a lot of years. And as a writer, as a writer and like a comics reader, I love comedy stories. Like Nick Spencer, I think is one of the most underrated writers ever. Like, and he was always really good at kind of pairing with an artist that can nail the beats of his joke writing. So I've been really fortunate in the first 2 issues. we're going to have a different artist than we do in the remainder of the arc. But the original artist, Tom Hoskisson, really has great comedic timing as an artist. But what he was able to do as well was, I knew I was going to be writing Johnny as a pretty unlikable character, but I still wanted some kind of quality there that it was like redeemable. So although as the arc goes, he's going to become more obnoxious. Tom did a great job on the character modeling, where he looks like a guy that you just, you're kind of like, can't stay mad at you. And same thing with, so far the Lisa character is kind of, the first two issues, because we need someone kind of to be responsible. She's in a little bit more of a role that's you're going to start to see where her flaws are elsewhere in this arc, and that's what the Kickstarter's for. Is basically it's about a third more than we needed to raise for the first book, but it's not to raise money for the printing. We're raising money so that I can pay my artists to finish issues 3 through 6. So
awesome.
Basically what we're looking to do is finish all of that, and then instead of going issue by issue, we want the third Kickstarter to basically be for a trade, so that people can just kind of have this one volume. It covers that whole first arc, establishes the world, gets them from here's a shithead who found a time machine to the end of the first arc, which has a huge cliffhanger. And if that works, we'll get the second arc, which is going to be even crazier. So that's where we're at. But
okay. So you have it all planned out for 2 big story arcs pretty much right now, right?
So far, yeah. It's one of those things, like I anytime I'll like listen to like a podcast or like read a book or something, and it's something I'm not super familiar with. Like I know there was a hardcore history arc on like a 5-episode thing. It was like 20 hours long on like the Mongol Empire. And there's just so much stuff in there that's just like fucking crazy. Can I curse? I'm sorry.
No, you can curse.
Oh, you're good.
You're good.
Sorry.
Yeah.
But yeah, just a lot of stuff that's really crazy, and it is, I think, particularly for Americans, the extent of our kind of education on anything that wasn't like, maybe I got some education on like ancient Greece, but nothing else like that. So it is just like this really different end of the pool to play in. So that to me it would be a fun setting to put a dude who is a chronic alcoholic, and the only thing that he could drink is like fermented yak's milk, or fermented horse blood or something like that. So like that's something that's fun. But the second arc is definitely, I don't want to spoil anything, but it is I can tell you the second arc we really want to get to, because the title of the arc is King Johnny. So that's going to get real weird. But
that's awesome.
But the current arc is still just it's super well researched. That's the other thing too, is like I want to kind of play with being as accurate as possible without getting like hung up on it. So like all of the clothing that the characters are wearing is super accurate and super well sourced. All of the settings, like the Centennial Exposition, the World's Fair, that kind of is the center setting for this arc, is still in Philly. It's the Please Touch Museum building is the original kind of exposition hall. Along with a bunch of other stuff. So we've been really lucky in that I could just like cruise around, Fairmount Park and snap pictures. And now we have all these great, and then now the current artist is actually also from Philly. So the guy working on it from here on out also knows all these locations already. And it's pretty cool.
That's awesome.
That makes life a little easier.
Yeah,
for sure. Yeah.
Describing places and stuff. That's awesome. So like, for your writing, especially like you said, you were, comedic writer, or you were doing stand-up before this, but so you look at some of the absurdity with the olden times, or like you're talking about fermented blood or whatever. So are you looking at these details and saying, wow, that seems pretty absurd or pretty ridiculous, maybe we can build either like a situation or a joke around that, and that's kind of how it really develops for you? Or is it just you're kind of writing the story and then afterwards you're like, okay, well, maybe something like that could fit in there?
Yeah, it's kind of more if I find a setting that like because as you read it, you'll see most of the comedy in Time Schmucks is character oriented. Right. It's not. I mean, some of it is like just kind of ridiculous. Like there is an allusion or kind of an homage to this story from like the late 1870s, where Ulysses Grant got a speeding ticket for riding a horse and carriage too fast through Central Park.
Yeah, that's amazing.
So I kind of co-opted that for a piece in this, but it is one of those things where it's like, yeah, that's empirically funny. So how can adding a drunk shithead to that make it more fun? And that's kind of the way I look. So like, yeah, I mean, so for the second arc, it's like, all right, we have this setting idea, or the first arc is easier because I guess presumably some folks that are hearing this may have read it, but I'm like, okay, this is a unique situation where it's a point in history that would be interesting for anybody who's kind of a history geek. We're kind of alluding to that with Lisa. We're going to get deeper into that in issue 3. But so like, this is a time where we are switching from everybody grows up on farms, never goes more than 10 miles from the room they were born in, to like trains and typewriters and steam engines and bicycles and all this other stuff is happening, and also the inventing is happening all the time. Invention is happening all the time. The United States is in this dynamic phase of growth, and it's anytime you're in a period where all of that's kind of centralized in one place.
Okay.
There's a lot of room for conflict, and conflict is where you're going to get a lot of jokes. So it's not specifically like, okay, Alexander Graham Bell's in this. What kind of jokes can I do about phones? I don't think there's any phone jokes because it's but it is more just, all right, this is somebody who could without having to do too many mental gymnastics, serve a purpose that drives the broader plot. And then around that, how do we put this kind of, this buddy cop vibe between Johnny and Lisa, where he's a fuck up and she's just trying to keep everything together.
Yeah.
And that's going to be kind of the driving force. Also, I passed around a couple advanced copies of issue 2 for promos and stuff. And I do have some people giving me that, like those seasons of The Simpsons where Homer was a little too stupid. So people are like, I think by now he would have figured some of this stuff out. So I definitely like taking some of that feedback, but he's a stone cold dum-dum. So that's definitely a big, big driving.
I like that it feels like a comic book sitcom. Like The Simpsons is like a sitcom, but it's a cartoon. It feels like everything in here is sitcom-y in its own way. And that, from me, is a compliment because I love sitcoms. But I really enjoyed his arc in this because, like, what happens in this issue with him, and I don't want to give it away, but like it fits him, and just the setting makes it funny as much as like the interaction itself.
Yeah, and I really did give him a lot to do because the whole plot really is like Johnny is not a character that drives plot except for up to like the 5th page of the first issue. Everything from there, he is just following it. Wow. But for sure, it does have like a sitcom-y vibe. I mean, like I definitely set out with like this like Seinfeld or Always Sunny of just this like I always have had a fondness for irredeemably terrible people who somehow get away without really having to suffer any consequences. Right. It's a very like Danny McBride kind of ethic, but it's one of these things where it's just I think it's really hysterical, and it is like a very like American thing where it's just like just be a completely irredeemably like self-absorbed individualistic shithead, and everything just kind of ends up working out okay.
Yeah, no consequences at all.
That's why earlier I brought up George Costanza. He's always my favorite character.
Exactly. Yeah. He's very much like Johnny's very much like a Costanza or like a Mac, where he's just like he thinks he knows what's up. He thinks he can get one over on you, but at the end of the day, he's just totally out there.
He's ruining things for people. Yeah.
So let's talk about Kickstarter. You successfully got issue 1 funded, and now you're doing issue 2 where we're still in the first week, and you already got a Project We Love banner, so that's nice.
Yeah, we've been fortunate. We got Project We Love last time too. Kickstarter seems to like my like my design decisions, but so the first one funded relatively painlessly, and that was nice. And then this time around, again, it's we have some expanded reward tiers. We have a little more going on than we did the first time around. We have kind of like a higher end of reward than we did on the first one. Just now that I'm kind of have, now that I have that first one under my belt, this is something I felt a little more comfortable taking a bigger swing as far as just the quality of the item to offer for folks, and the getting more creative with the types of rewards. But we also we're doing like variant covers for the first time. So that was like an early bird reward that we did. We did like a silent launch an extra week early. And that was just I had so much feedback from the folks who backed issue 1 that I really wanted to give them an opportunity to get some like limited like early backer rewards for being so eager to get to the next issue. So we're going to be doing those in phases. So they'll be popping up here and there as the campaign is on as an add-on. So folks who've already backed it can always come back and take a peek. There might be something else you might want to grab, for an extra $2-3. You get so I had an artist do a series of pin-up covers.
Yeah, I saw those. They're awesome.
Yeah, they're if I can send you the link if you want to. They're a little weird, but but they're very fun.
They're pretty hilarious though. Yeah.
And then we will also be doing a limited run, a limited printing. I think we're only going to do 25 or 50, like a very limited printing, like a holographic cover. So
shiny.
those are really cool. Yeah, the artist we got for the new cover is this gal down in Chile, and she does like oil paint covers. So I think I'm going to be using her for the rest of our covers moving forward because they just look incredible.
Yeah.
But the contrast of colors, she used a lot of like purples and greens. So once we put the foil on that and put like a little hologram in it, it's going to look super dope, and I think people are really going to go for it. But we're still waiting on the mock-ups for that one to come out.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm a little depressed that I didn't get in earlier because
the Eagles,
this naughty Johnny cover that's calling my name right now.
Yeah, I thought you would have liked the Naughty Lisa because it has the Eagles on the bedspread. I don't know if you saw that.
I do like that. You got all my teams on there, but
you got an Eagles fan here, and he's I'm like, damn, that Chris would have loved that.
Yeah, go Birds.
Yeah.
Well, so those awesome. are going to be made available as an add-on a little later. But that really, I kind of wanted to give the folks who were who reached out early to an opportunity to get just get that little special extra attaboy. But then a couple other new rewards that we're doing are we're doing a pint glass that's gonna have some art on it that was used for an enamel pin on the first campaign. Okay. So it'll actually look like it was kind of placed on the glass in 1876. It has like this nice kind of like Liberty Bell design. Mm-hmm. So and it's like a real ass pint glass. It's going to be like a full color print and all that other good stuff.
That's awesome.
And then from issue 1, there's basically the kind of manual for this time machine that they found in Ben Franklin's basement. Is this like old journal? So we're actually offering that as one of our higher end rewards. It's a moleskin journal that'll have the same cover, and then you can kind of take your own notes with it, but you'll have your own little Ben Franklin journal for that. Awesome. And then the top reward we have is you can if you're feeling generous, you got some deep pockets, we'll draw you into a future issue. Okay. And the cool thing about that too is because of the way the genre works, because of the kind of ideas we have for the next couple arcs, if you like the story but you're maybe not into having a steampunky looking version of or like a Victorian looking version of yourself drawn into something, eventually if you're like I want to be like chugging wine in a toga, something's going to come up. You're going to get a chance. Or like you want to be in World War II or whatever else it is, where the big picture stuff with this, we're really going to get into some like crazy sci-fi elements in issue 4, which the new artist just started working on, or is going to start working on next week. So we're like really stoked on where that's going, but the harder core sci-fi stuff is really going to tie in these really great like essentially like for as long as I can keep doing this, I'm going to keep writing these because it is just such a fun concept and story, but I kind of want everything shitty that's ever happened in history to be Johnny's fault.
Oh, okay.
So,
Okay.
We'll see how deep and how far we can go with that. But it like butterfly effect being what it is. I'm just trying to see and find how many times I can have him be responsible for a president being shot, or a deadly disease being released, or something like that.
That's phenomenal.
You need to take him to like feudal Japan or something. If that's not planned, I'm a huge samurai fan, so if I could see him in that one of those situations, that would be fantastic.
So that's one I would really love to have him in that environment. I also would really love to do an arc where we can put him in a situation where it is like feudal Japan, where it is a very like reserved, stratified kind of not Johnny friendly,
right?
Society, and have him thrive and have him actually be really good at it. Just
right.
If it's just like, okay, look, he's got like, maybe he just doesn't like sake and just like has to dry out, and then it turns out discipline's really good for him, and he's like,
he becomes like a normal person.
and he's just like an awesome samurai. But I mean, we're also what's nice about kind of the way I've been able to pace this is there's also going to be a lot more characters as we go. So it's just one of those things where, because of the budgeting we've had to do, that's why I want to just, we're trying to raise $7,200, which I think is a lot for, especially if you're somebody who's, if you max out the donation and get everything, you're only getting about 40 pages of story. But the longer promise there is that you're not going to have to deal with me spamming you 5 times a year. We're going to get a nice big book at the very end of this, and it's going to have, if you stick with it, you're going to find a character that you love. You're going to find your humor reflected. You're going to find something fun in it. It really is like, I mean, nothing is for everybody, especially not in comics these days. But in that way that, like, I think we all have a fondness for kind of like scoundrels. This is very much like a celebration of that type of person.
Okay. Makes sense.
So for the collectors out there, which I'm sure pretty much everybody listening says, are you going to print every issue of this and then go for a trade, or when you get to that trade stage, are you just going to just do that and not finish the single issues?
So I'm gonna produce single issues for everything. We're gonna get those printed. I'm basically front loading my costs with this campaign. So we worked with a couple different printers on the first one. The order went out like right in the middle of the COVID lockdown, so we had a really hard time fulfilling orders the first time around. And then we lucked out. We found a much quicker domestically based printer, and that's the only kind of hiccup we had the first time around. Is it took I think 8 months after the funding just to get the comics out of the port of LA. That won't be a problem this time around, but using that printer, since we've kind of established a relationship with them, it's going to be a lot easier for me and a lot more cost effective for me to get those printed without having to do these big campaigns. So for collectors, what I'm planning on doing, again, this is all a lot of big ifs. We got to get this thing funded, but assuming it all goes well, we're going to go ahead and spend probably the rest of 2022 finishing up drawing the next 4 issues, and then I will, if you can actually look and see, we do have the first issue is available on Comixology right now. If you're somebody that just wants to get that, I would prefer that you go ahead and just pledge on the Kickstarter, because you can get issue 1 a lot cheaper that way. But what we're going to do is we'll release them an issue at a time once everything's done. And then I haven't finished it up yet, but we're setting up an online store, so you can get direct copies from me. I mean, I still am. If you're somebody that's like, right now we got the Kickstarter active, but if you're ever somebody that is interested in the story and you hit me up on Twitter or Instagram or something, I send me your address. We can, I can, for a couple bucks, I can get you a copy. So we definitely do want to have that be a thing, especially since I've met so many extremely talented artists working on this so far. I want to get as many opportunities to have as many different kind of people's fingerprints on this as I can, particularly because everyone I've kind of hired out has just like gone above and beyond, exceeding my expectations as far as what I thought I was getting versus what I wound up with. And yeah, I mean, like that's work I want to have other people see and be able to get. So that having those individual issues is definitely going to be nice. But I'm thinking I'd like to, by the time we can actually all do like cons and trade shows and stuff again without, it being very weird and COVID-y. I'd like to have the trade ready for that, and that would probably necessitate another Kickstarter, but that probably end of next year at the very latest. But anyone who wants to, who is a collector who wants to have the whole set in their short boxes, we're definitely going to make that happen. I mean, that's how I buy comics. So that I'll trade weight for certain stuff, but I'm nobody, so nobody's trade weighting me.
Yeah. Yep. You're nobody yet, but who knows? Issue 2 comes out, and you never know.
Yeah, we'll see.
That's awesome. And I mean, you definitely have a fan base now that wants to see more issues of this, Chris and I included. So, yeah, I can't. I mean, and doing such a story like this that involves time travel, Chris and I talk about this a lot. But you could really, you could take these characters anywhere, right? And that's one of the beauties of it is like if you want to do more, you can, especially with your interest in history and stuff like that. So.
Yeah, I mean it's really when you use time travel as like an excuse for kind of settings instead of like a plot device. I think it's more fun. It's not. I mean, like there's that Rick and Morty episode where they were just like they just kind of tore down the entire concept of using time travel and
yeah, right.
And it is like that is boring and like there is only a certain amount of things before you understand kind of like paradoxes enough that it's like, oh, well, none of this actually works logically. But if you can disregard that a little bit and just kind of enjoy the fantasy of like, yeah, let's just put a modern shithead in a situation that makes no sense for him, then it's like that, I think, is the more fun way to do it. And it's a lot of like our ethos on this book is very like we want to be as historically accurate as we can be. I also like credit the books that kind of inspire the arcs because I think they're really interesting and there's a lot to be like gained from that. But we also want to kind of like be as irreverent as possible at the same time. So like I can tell you right now, like people who read this who are like into canon and like who are really pedantic and want to like well, actually in issue number 2 there was a different use of this plot device and this machine. That's what, like our time machine doesn't have any rules. The way time travel works is going to look different every time we do it. Yep. And that is strictly to make people furious. So it's like we really want to have like we want it to be as fun as it can be because time travel stuff can get so stale so fast. We want to just make sure it's like, hey, just like we know it sounds like it could be one of these things where like Marty's going to disappear if he doesn't get his parents back together, or we have to send the right version of Schwarzenegger to the right year to save the right John Connor. Fuck all that.
Yeah.
Like we are having fun. It's a drunk shithead fucking shit up.
Nice.
It's more of a British version of what you're doing, but Garth Ennis has a book out right now called Marjorie Finnegan Time Criminal or Temporal Criminal.
Mm-hmm.
And he has the same thing in like the first issue where he literally has this device called the Unfucker. And the whole purpose of it is like if she fucks something up, the Unfucker takes care of it.
Yeah.
And in my head, I'm just like, that's Garth being like, everybody shut the fuck up and
right,
just read the book.
Yeah. Just read the book. Stop emailing me,
Yeah.
That's awesome. I mean, because it's like your impersonation there sounds like me when I'm trying to talk about which is the original timeline in Terminator. So
well, and the thing is like I think I like kind of taking the piss out of that because I am so that guy. Like,
right.
I've had so many girlfriends get irritated with me. It's like this is the first canonical appearance of Black Widow, and she's going to It's like
nobody cares.
Yeah, nobody cares that you know that.
Yeah. I know it's they are fun conversations when you find someone that cares, though. I swear.
Totally, yeah. No, it's just like it's like actually his name is Grogu.
Yeah, right. Come on.
It's a really stupid bad name, but that's what they picked.
Awesome. So I mean, the Kickstarter pretty much just started. You got almost a month to get out there and donate. And I think from what I've seen, I mean, relatively low cost for a single issue, all print. And this is all printed in color as well, right?
Yeah, I mean,
It's all color.
the printer that we're using is really like they're kind of really they really believe in the project as much as we do, which is super cool. Yeah, so I mean, it'll be full color. Again, we're going to have a bunch of those different alternate covers available, so that's also going to be the fun thing. Um, but yeah, I mean, the actual comic itself, I mean, if that's the thing that you're like, I got to get my hands on, the quality of the print is super high. It's the colorist that we use, Rebecca McConnell, she really does a great job too of kind of optimizing everything for the printed page. I think a lot of artists, I mean, a lot of, I think pro level colorists know what they're doing, but I feel like on kind of this indie of an indie book, you can see the thing where I've had it before too, and certainly I'm not like knocking anybody, because I know between cost effectiveness and everything else you got to worry about when you're self-publishing something, it's easy to miss. But I know a lot of the time I'll get like a PDF that looks great, and then I see the print and it's just kind of a little flat. These look great. I mean, it's I'm really looking forward to seeing these, in my hand, because the first issue came out so great.
Yeah, it did. That's one of the things when I got it in the mail, I was like, wow, this quality of this issue is really good. So definitely a good decision with that printer, I'd say. But
so, how I know you're going to be good? Because I just looked at the page right now, and the number went up right as I turned to the page.
Yeah, it was probably me.
So
I reminded myself to back. Yeah, it might have been me. Listen, so I'll
don't tell
admit,
them that, Mike.
Oh, okay. Well, sometimes I admit that like I forget to go and back a project when we first talk about it, and then like during the interview, I'm like, oh shit, I should go do that now before I forget. Set a reminder for myself. I do it all the time.
Yeah. I do it all the time with like I've been also I've been trying to pull together an anthology book with a couple other writers and artists and stuff, and it's been a nightmare just trying to get everything, just to herd the cats for that. Right. So like that was supposed to be the Kickstarter I'm working on this time of year, and then this was not supposed to be for a while, but it just turned into one of those things where it's like only 2 people have their shit together enough for it.
Yep.
We're gonna have to do it, but that will happen eventually, and we'll have a Time Schmucks one-off in it.
So that'll be fun. Awesome. Yeah, we're gonna have to promote that as well. Yeah, it sucks that I just gave away my secret, because then I'll be interviewing someone that won't see their Kickstarter tick up during the interview, and I'll be like, jeez. But I will say, no, there's a lot. I mean, we see a lot of books that come through the show and stuff, and we choose to back things, we choose not to sometimes because it's not up our alley. But I mean, we still believe in the projects, but this is definitely something Chris and I saw, and we're like, oh shit, yeah, we got to back this.
Yeah, right on. I mean, also, again, like I definitely did notice, like, the little review you guys gave for issue 1 gave a bump. So that was really cool. And like, I know we didn't get to talk about it. It was all kind of like this clusterfuck of like, a writer that Rebecca had worked with on another project was like, I got to put you in touch with like all these people, dude. You're not doing all these podcasts.
Right.
Well, yeah. Cause like all the guys I know are like, like Philly stand-up comedy guys, or like Jersey punks or stuff like that. So it's like, that's maybe not reaching the target demo. So, I mean, I definitely appreciate you guys, being as into it as I am. Cause,
for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. It sounds like we're hanging out with the same people.
Yeah.
Just gonna say.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. I mean, I'm in New York now these days, but it sounds like we're hanging out with the same people.
Yep. Awesome. Well, Jack, we'll we'll have the link for the Kickstarter below the show and everything like that. But all our listeners and viewers, where can we send them if they want to follow you more and what you're doing?
Oh, sure. So, yeah, I mean, most of my social media at the moment is just plugging this, but I do write other things. I'm actually working on a podcast right now as well. We haven't released it yet, but it's going to be it's about the kind of creative process and kind of dealing with being a creative in the complete collapse of empire and the decay of Lake Capital.
Okay.
So we talked to like psychologists, creatives, and there's like definitely a political bent as well, and kind of just discussing the intersection of just kind of like what it means to be someone who, it feels driven to create, for whether as a living or whatever, and kind of balancing that with the world that we live in now, and kind of the toll that can take on you psychologically. So there's a lot of stuff going on with that, but that's going to be awesome. My co-host on that is a therapist, and so looking forward to that. So
That's cool.
I
Awesome.
promise it won't just be Time Schmuck spam. You can there'll be
Yeah.
other shit you can see me do, but
Awesome.
on all of this stuff, I'm at Hack Fitzsimmons.
Okay.
So it's just my name, but the type of writer that I am. And then you can follow
awesome.
Time Schmucks at Time Schmucks on Instagram, and that's only ever going to be Time Schmuck stuff that's going to be posting updates. We're also working on, I kind of want to do a little micro story that we're going to try and release exclusively through Instagram, kind of in like the way like a Simon Hanselman or something like that would do, like daily, little panels. But that's going to take an amount of work I don't know we can do yet. But Time Schmucks, just keep an eye on it. That'll be fun. And Hack Fitzsimmons everywhere else.
Awesome. Yeah.
Cool.
Thanks again for being on the show.
Yeah. And everybody out there, I'll have the links down below for the Kickstarter, so you can check the campaign out and make sure to go and back it. And also, if you're interested, if you're a Comixology person, I'll have the link to the book on there as well. So, yeah. Jack, thanks so much for being on, man. And we'll have to talk again soon.
Yeah, I'd love to have you back.
Yeah, thanks so much, guys. I really appreciate it.